opportunity to come and speak before you. I enjoy preaching. I don't get to do it a whole lot, so thank you for that. I also want to bring you greetings from Child's Christian Church. Child's Christian Church is a place where we value curiosity. We say that it's a place where the questions are as important as the answers. It's a place where we care about mission. For example, we work with you all every third Sunday at Paz de Cristo. We have many other opportunities to reach out. And Child's Christian Church is a place where we care about radical hospitality. Most recently, raising our voices in support of the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender community. So from Child's Christian Church, I bring you greetings. It's especially important for me to bring greetings to this church because it was you that gave birth to Child's Christian Church, my beloved home church, and I am eternally indebted to you for the work that you did to make Child's that has so much enriched my life. So thank you, Community Christian, for that. Will you pray with me? Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our heart be pleasing to your sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Half a league onward, rode, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charged for the guns, he said, into the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, was there a man dismayed? No, though the soldiers knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to reason why, theirs not to make reply, theirs but to do or die, into the valley of death, rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian reeled from saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They had fought so well, came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600. This is a work by Alfred Lord Tennyson written in 1870. And for those of you who don't know, it commemorates an actual battle that was in during the Crimean War. I find this poem moving. It sort of makes me admire the Light Brigade, in spite of the fact that, I know the Russians and the British were involved in the Crimean War because of what it says in the poem, but beyond that, I don't really know much about the Crimean War. So why do I have such affection for those soldiers? Well, I ask you to think about these words for a moment. Think about duty, obedience, loyalty, grace under fire, courage. These are words that these soldiers in the Light Brigade exemplified, and I think we admire that by itself, even without knowing anything about the sides of the war. And what does it matter that so many of them died? Does that help our admiration? I think it does. But not just because we admire people who give their lives. For example, we don't admire people who commit suicide. We sort of have a range of reactions to that. Some of us would describe it as tragic. Some of us would even describe it as sinful. So it's not just that they lost their life. It's that in losing their life, they demonstrate their dedication to their cause. And we admire that kind of obedience to a higher power, at least in the military context. And in fact, that's why we have a day where we memorialize those who did just that, who so dedicated themselves to the country. There's really no question about their dedication. It's complete and fact, they've literally given everything they can to their country. So, I suppose the question is, how does that translate, or does it translate to our Christianity? Well, I think the Battle Hymn of the Republic is a hymn that sort of kind of straddles that line. And keep with me, I know it's not a hymn we sing anymore. There's good reasons why we've sort of purged our hymnals, and not our hymnals, than our bulletins of military hymns. I understand that, but just for this instance, on this Memorial Day, let's think about the Battle Hymn of the Republic a little bit. We sort of know there's, mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. That verse we know, but there's a couple of other verses that I want to remind you of or relate to you. The first deals with gospel, and it goes like this: I have read a fiery gospel, written burnished rows of steel. As you deal with my contemners, so with you my grace shall deal. Let the hero born of woman crush the serpent with his heel, since God is marching on. That's some powerful imagery, right? And then there's another verse that actually makes the connection I'm talking about even more explicit. It goes like this: in the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free, while God is marching on. There it is, right? That's the connection. Just like Jesus Christ died for our salvation, so we soldiers in the field are willing to die for the freedom of others. I don't know about you. I find that to be powerful stuff, even if it's a little bit dangerous, and even if we do worry about taking it too far. I'll give you one more sort of analogy, this connection between the two ideas of this military obedience and this obedience to Christ. The gospel reading in today's lectionary was a story about a centurion who had a slave that was ill. The centurion sent his servant to Jesus and asked Jesus to heal. The centurion's faith was so great that he knew that Jesus didn't have to come and heal the servant himself. All right? That Jesus just needed to say the word and the servant would be healed. But the reason the centurion knew that is because the centurion said, look, I'm an important person. I don't need to be there to make something done. I know when I command someone to go do it, it gets done. I'm a centurion in the Roman army. You, Jesus, are even greater than that. I know that you can command things to be done far away and it'll get done. So, again, more with this idea of hierarchy, this idea of obedience. If I was to rattle off those same lists and to ask you about it, to think about it in terms of your spirituality, how would that work if I talked about obedience as a spiritual discipline, or duty, or discipline? I think we recoil a little bit from that. Maybe you don't, but I think some folks do. And what I suggest, the reason at first that we recoil from that is that there's a certain amount of a certainty that goes along with that. To ask for obedience, that sort of suggests that the person asking for obedience is absolutely right. And that gives us some pause. In fact, if you noticed in the story of the Light Brigade, Tennyson didn't just talk about the glory of the soldiers, did he? In fact, right away, he tells us that there was a blunder. That, again, is a very specific historical event. What happened was the Russians were pulling the British guns away. And the order was for the Light Brigade to go get the British guns that were being pulled out, okay? But what happened was it was not translated correctly. And so the person in charge of the Light Brigade thought it meant to charge the guns of the Russians that were mounted high up. And so he gave this ridiculous order to just charge into artillery fire. And that's why they were slaughtered, following that order. So maybe we have a similar question about obedience and about making sure we get it right. And in fact, Paul's letter today gives us good reason to at least have pause about making sure we're following the right gospel.